Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World, where we cover all the major indoor and arena football leagues, whether it's the IFL, the AF1, the NAL, the AAL, or the TAL. We also mix in some of the smaller developmental and semi-pro leagues as well at times. But you're in the right place if you're an indoor football fan. Make sure you're joining us every Saturday morning, at 8 a.m. Eastern, or slightly after, as you can tell. But without further ado, we're going to play a quick intro video and get right into the content for you guys. Thank you for joining. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the like button and share this stream. Let's get into nice and popular in the chat today. All right, we're going to kick off today's episode with the big news that came out last night, in my personal opinion. And I think this is probably the biggest news we've had most of the offseason. But the AAL has announced they will hold a draft in 2026 to select AAL2 players. Any AAL2 player is eligible to apply. There will be a small application fee. And when I say small, the number I heard kicked around at one point was like $10. And basically, to my understanding, that's not even going to be a for-profit thing. It sounds like the league is probably going to donate that. But they're still working out some of the details on the back end. But basically, the players just apply that they are willing and able to be drafted. And then any one of the AAL teams can draft them. The part that I really like about this is that the draft doesn't take place until 2 games have been played by AAL2 teams, allowing these guys to kind of showcase what they can do on the field for a very short stint, and then potentially get drafted by an AAL team and go into the professional segment of that league. So what are your guys' thoughts on this move for the AAL2 and the AAL, of course, and how do you guys think it's going to affect the league going forward? Let's go to Krish first on this one.
Yeah, I think one of the main things, that I've said all along is, when I look at the IFL, I think a dispersal draft with the UFL would be amazing. So many free agents from the UFL want to play and continue their careers. And so an opportunity to kind of balance the playing field. This is a big move for the AL because I believe this puts them in a standpoint of where they can be pioneers. They're the first ones doing this. But yes, maybe the talent might be shaking in the draft. I won't lie, it's the first year. But if they can get a couple of college all conference guys, D2 guys, high level, maybe low level D1 guys to enter the draft and be part of that year one, they can build blocks and make it more legit for years to come. So I'm a big fan of this for sure.
TJ, what are your thoughts?
Man, I really like it. It's kind of the quote unquote throwback idea, from the old AFL, AF2 days, with the AAL and AL2, you have a direct in league, funnel to move up within the system. So if you go try out, say, for the NAL team and don't make it, but you're offered an AL2, contract or offer, you have a direct way to get to the AL if you showcase yourself properly in those first 2 games. And even if you don't, you are still constantly in the system. You know, even if there are injuries throughout the season and stuff like that, they'll be looking at you because you are under the overall, AL umbrella for the league and for the basically the parent and the other and the secondary league. So I really like this. I think it's going to be really successful. And honestly, I think there are more leagues than they'll admit that are going to watch to see how this goes. And this might become, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. This might actually become a thing with another league or maybe multiple leagues. I really like it. It's a great concept. It's a great way to have players not only move up but also move up within your system, and that's what it's all about. So I really like it as well.
I agree. And, talking about some of the details, it's going to take place on April 19th in Columbus, Georgia at the Beck Center. This is like an indoor high school facility that Roger Beck, the Columbus Lions new majority owner, he helped commission for this high school years ago. So they're going to hold it there. If you go back and watch the AAL fifth quarter episode, there were a ton of photos and pictures of the Beck Center and where the draft event's going to be held. There's large conference rooms, everything. It seems perfect for a 14 draft event, but 5 rounds, total of 20 players selected. One of the big caveats that I wanted to throw out there that make it very clear is that there are no minimum or maximum amount of players to be selected from any AAL2 team. So AJ was very clear about this when he spoke on it last night in that episode. And he said, technically, there's nothing stopping the AAL teams from drafting all 20 players from one AAL2 team. Well, that's interesting note because as we all know, a couple weeks ago or a week ago, we announced that Tom Manasse was taking over the head coaching position with the Michigan Avengers. Well, obviously, that's naturally going to bring in some high-level talent. Now, granted, we have to keep in mind those guys have to then apply for that draft to be selected. And, that's one of the caveats with this as well, that there may be some AAL2 players that don't see the value in moving up to the AAL and decide to stay where they're at because that's where they live or, whatever. So that's a whole nother factor of this that could potentially throw some ripples in it. But, ultimately, I think in an age where I know you guys and I know we as a group here have discussed this heavily in our group chat and then on the page as well. But in an age where football is having a developmental problem from top to bottom, I think this is a great move because now you're bringing in talent, you're developing it at the developmental level and bringing it up into the professional level, continuing to develop them as pros and hopefully sending them off from there to, the UFL, the CFL, what have you. So I think this is good for players. More importantly, I think this is good for players that may not have other opportunities in other leagues. A lot of these AAL2 guys, they come from local tryouts. So a lot of these guys have tried out for NAL teams or AAL teams or AF1 teams, stuff like that, and haven't made it. So this is their opportunity to go play and hopefully represent their home state too. So I know there's a lot of stuff thrown around about the talent level in the AAL and the AAL2, but we also have to remember there's a lot of context behind that. And these teams are primarily built off tryouts and primarily built off local players. So that's a facet of this league that I think stands apart compared to other leagues as well. But I know I had a lot to say there. Any other thoughts on the draft? Anything like that? Any suggestions as what you would think would be cool to include with the live stream or anything like that? Before we move on to the next topic? Nothing? Okay, cool. Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic, which there's been a little bit of AIF news, and it's unfortunately not good news. The big news that came out, I believe it was Friday night, the West Michigan Ironmen have had their equipment trailer stolen. It was basically in a parking lot somewhere. Somebody backed right up to it, hooked their truck up, and boogied out of there. There's pictures online on their page, and there are some surveillance photo type shots that are not really great. But, anything we can do to help West Michigan get their stuff back. So if you're watching this right now, go over to the West Michigan Ironman page, share their posts, do what you can to try and get the word out there so they can get their stuff back. I mean, they're closing in on their season in a month. They're supposed to kick off their first game January 30th. Without that equipment, that could really throw a monkey wrench in everything they've got going on in the AIF. So hopefully they can get their stuff back, and hopefully whoever this is, gets caught for doing what they did. So not cool, but unfortunately there's thieves everywhere. So any thoughts on that real quick before we move on? I know that's not really much of a discussion topic.
Yeah, I mean, if you're stealing stuff from an AIF team, man, like you got to admit yourself in rehab. You know what I mean? Like you got to be the lowest level of person. But honestly, I'm gonna call them out. They said that if it's returned, they won't file charges. They should file charges right away. You know what I mean? Like they shouldn't play that game. So I think they're making a mistake by not going after the person.
I can see the motivation behind why you would throw something like that out there, though. You know, at the end of the day, you want to get your stuff back. You want to hopefully try and avoid as much drama as possible, and obviously get it back in a timely manner, like we mentioned, given the fact that they've got a game coming up in a month. So definitely makes sense why they would go and try and make this move to try and avoid, pressing charges. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it's going to produce the results they're hoping for. Let's put it that way. So,
Yeah, I mean, was it like fully loaded?
to my understanding, yes. I mean,
Okay,
I don't know
yeah.
that
So
it
you have
had like their turf and all that stuff on there. I don't
okay.
think they really put in there exactly what was on the trailer, but it's just, I don't
I
know.
mean, if it was basically keeping their inventory stock, we'll say in there, man, you're talking helmets, jerseys, pads, all that kind of stuff. And helmets aren't, go and buy 20 of the same one. Got players have different, preferences and everything else. I mean, that's huge. That could literally halt their season. So, you know, hopefully they get it back. And if for some odd reason whoever did it is watching the show, man, just please just return it, man. It's a football team. Let them play. Come on, do the right
Agreed.
thing.
Agreed. And it's not like, let's be honest, man. I mean, yeah, you can sell that stuff at like pawn shops or secondhand or whatever, but what is it really worth? I mean, if that turf is on there, that's your most expensive item, and immediately somebody's going to know that that's stolen. So, what are you going to gain? Where are you even going to sell that stuff? Play it against sports? Good luck, man. Get you
Where'd you find
get
this
you like,
turf?
yeah, exactly. Get you a fresh $20 bill for everything you got in that trailer. Super worth it. Yes, Caleb, 100%. This is a desperation move on their part. But like I said, they've got a game in a little over a month. So, I mean, I don't blame them for being desperate at this point. That's a tough situation for any team. It's just, yeah. I like this idea. Excuse me. West Michigan should definitely throw this out there, offer a free suite to team or to a fan that gives a tip that leads to the return of their stuff. That's not the worst idea in the world. And realistically, it probably wouldn't hurt them nearly as much as losing their gear. So I would think they would do that in a heartbeat compared to the alternative. But there isn't really much to say on this subject. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that really sucks for the team. Real unfortunate event. And if I'm being honest, I doubt the person who stole the trailer even knew what he was stealing. I'm sure he just saw a trailer that was in a situation where he could take it, and he, opted to just do so, and took off with a bunch of football gear, and probably was fairly disappointed when he opened that trailer and found out it was a bunch of used equipment for a football team, rather than like dirt bikes or something better. So we'll see how things go, but our hearts go out to West Michigan. That's a tough situation for any team, and it's definitely a situation where we hope their stuff gets returned. I wanted to spend some time going through the TAL schedule because we have not done that yet, but we're nearing up on our first guest of the morning, so we'll go ahead and skip the TAL schedule for right now. We'll circle back to it. And we'll talk about some of the stuff going on in the IFL as we wait for our first guest to get in here. So one of the big pieces of information that came out this week that I wanted to discuss with you guys I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me run a quick commercial. We'll be right back. We'll discuss the IFL news. I apologize.
step up in the pocket, has some room in front of him, gets that three-step drop, here comes the pressure, passes complete to Flowers, back to pass, pressure coming, has somebody in the end zone, touchdown! Russell, pressure's coming, Russell able to escape, still on his feet, and will be brought down at the looking, has plenty of time, has Flores at the 15, he's at the 10, and Russell has it on the outside, like I said, he ain't taking a slide, Russell steps up, let's go, Robinson makes the circus catch. It's going to be a low snap. Here comes the pressure, and the pass is going to be complete. And making the catch of Grant Russell. Russell, back to pass, looking. He has Robinson makes the catch, and will be brought down on the.
How many times a week? Like three or four times, maybe.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
All right, we are back with our first guest of the morning, one we are all very hyped to have on this morning, Mr. Smoke Monday, who recently re-signed with the Orlando Pirates. Mr. Monday, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. Krish, you're a resident Pirates fan, man. I'll let you kick off the questions this morning.
Yeah, Smoke, it's good to see you, my boy.
What's good? What's good?
One of my questions for you is kind of last year, you came in mid-season. What were some of the biggest challenges for you adjusting to the indoor style of play?
To be honest, it was really just, getting used to, how fast it is. It's a little different from outside. Things move a lot faster because it's only 50 yards, So, just had to pick up on the speed. And once I did that, it was basically football again. So, it wasn't pretty hard.
That makes sense. One of the questions I want to ask you is, obviously you made the jump from outdoor football to indoor football fairly quickly. A lot of guys will wait a year, before they make that move or something like that. But it seemed like you just wanted to play from the outside looking in anyway. So what led you to make that jump to the Pirates right away rather than, waiting for an opportunity at the next level or something like that?
Going back to my rookie year in the league, I tore my ACL. Just one of those unfortunate things that happens. Can't blame nobody. Just a part of the game. Once that happened, I went to CFL. Did a little training camp there. Did pretty good from my understanding. From what I was told, I did pretty good. Just haven't had no shots back in the outside league. So me, I love football, man. Any chance I can get to play the game, I take it. And when Ward gave me the opportunity to come play, it was a no-brainer for me because I haven't played football in 2 years, and that was something I never done in my life. Never set out 2 years of football and just watched it. So I needed to get back into it ASAP. So that was a no-brainer for me to come play in the indoor league, and turned out good for me, to be honest.
Well, you weren't privy to our conversation backstage before our show, but we were just discussing players that often, waste the prime of their careers because they're not willing to, go play indoor football or something like that. And then they miss out on the opportunity to go back outdoors. So I think that you made a great decision. And I personally think that you are 100% a candidate to be picked up by UFL or CFL team in the very near future, if not an NFL team again, because they know you're in shape and you have recent game film. So I think you're very soon going to be another one of the testaments of the power of indoor football and what it can do for players. But TJ, do you have any questions for Smoke Monday?
Yeah, going into this season, what are you most excited about now that you have the off season and the kind of mentality to be ready to go with the Pirates again this year?
I came towards the end of the season, so I didn't get a real good feel for, how the season went, how, to watch film and things like that. So I got a good 4 games in, so that gave me a good feel for coming into the next season because I feel like I got a better opportunity, breaking down film, breaking down guys, doing things that I'm used to doing, playing outside football. I can just translate it to indoor and make things a whole lot easier for me because, like I said, I always been one of those guys that was big on the game. I studied the game, the ins and outs of it, study the playbook, why we run this and why we run it versus this. And so, I mean, coming into the off season, that was big for me because I know that I didn't really get a chance to do that last season because I only had 4 games. But now it's gonna help me a lot. It's gonna make it a lot more dangerous for people. Not gonna lie, because now I got time to sit back and break down your film, break down how you run your routes, break down what you do out of different formations. So now I feel like I got a great head start on other teams now.
I love that. I love that. Krish, you have any more questions?
Yeah, Smoke. Obviously this year in Orlando, a little different than Matt. What are some changes from a culture standpoint you're hoping happen this year compared to last year, you would say?
We got Coach Rob, man. I feel like Coach Rob is a great coach. I looked at his resume. He got a great resume. I mean, he get guys back out on the field, and coming to the indoor, that's the biggest thing. You got coaches over there that love for you to stay indoor, that want you to stay indoor, don't want you to prosper. And I kind of feel how that's how some of the coaches is. But he one of those guys that ready to get you back outside, ready to get you back to where you belong. And I feel like with the guys he bringing in, we're gonna have a real fight chance this year.
I want to talk for a moment on the guys that are brought into the Pirates real quick. And I wanted to ask your opinion, and this might be kind of an interesting question. But do you think that you still would have made the decision to sign with an indoor football team if it had not been the Pirates the way they're set up with, premier level talent across the board?
To be honest, you're right. I mean, and one thing I can say about Ward is going to go get the best. He's going to go get the best at every position possible. And once I realized who I had on the team, it was a no-brainer. I mean, come on, I get to play again. I get to play with my dog DJ Daniel. Get to play with DJ Dale. I get to play with Brenny. Like I get to play with some of the guys I played against in college. So I mean, for me, when you look at all the other rosters, and you look at the names and the teams they played, I feel like it doesn't compare to the guys that we have. And I feel like once we get everything rolling this year, it's nobody gonna be able to stop us.
It definitely, always on paper looks like it's going to be the best team in the league. And honestly, it's shaping up that way again this year. TJ, any more questions for Smoke?
Yeah, I do have one more. It's more of an opinion question here. Given, coming into the indoor arena world, after hearing, a lot of the mixed kind of reviews of it, how would you say your view of the sport is now after being involved in it and seeing the stuff?
It's a great sport, man. I mean, put in all the hard work I put in. I'm not gonna lie, arena was never, on my calendar. Never was thought of. But I mean, it gave me another shot, to reach my goal. And I never thought it would have been as fun as I thought it was because everybody know when I'm back outside, I love to hit people, and that's just my game. That's just what I do. And indoor, you can't run from me. I mean, it's either me or the wall, and 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna choose the wall. And 9 times out of 10, it's gonna feel like you chose the wall if you chose me. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's perfect for me. It's perfect for my style of play. I mean, it's perfect for everything that I envision football is.
Man, I don't think we could have asked for a better synopsis of arena football. I'm pretty sure we're going to put that on billboards after this. Krish, what are your thoughts? What are your last questions for Smoke Monday?
Yeah, Smoke, I appreciate your time, man. Great seeing you. I guess my last question would be, Auburn football, man. New hire, new coach, new energy. How excited are you for the future of the War Eagle?
Man, I'm very excited. I feel like, the last past couple of years, we've been staying in a same little category we've been in. But I feel like it's due. We do for a big season. I feel like we had the pieces last year. We just didn't put it all together. I just feel like, there's a lot of things we could have done better on the coaching side. But that's football. This is how football rolls. But I feel like the guy that we brought in, he got a real good chance of getting these guys back together, and playing for each other and fighting for each other again and fight for that Auburn Nation. Because I promise you, ain't nothing like winning games and everybody in Auburn, Alabama on your side. I mean, everybody. So I feel like he can get it back to the glory days.
Awesome. So, I mean, I have to ask, have you had any contact with UFL, NFL, CFL teams since signing with the Pirates?
Not yet. I feel like they want to see more film, and to be honest, I feel like I need a little more film. I mean, I haven't played in 2 years. I haven't played a full season since my last year of college. So, I mean, for me, it's just get out there and get the reps and keep getting the feel for it, because once everything get kicked off and rolling, I'm all gas, no brakes. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm 25 years old. Really don't have much time left. So I feel like I'm on the clock, and I feel like it's time for me to do big things. And at this point in my life, I feel like I'm ready for it.
Man, that internal clock's already ticking, and you're only 25. You got a whole lifetime ahead of you, man. You probably a long career ahead of you too. So don't be counting it down yet. But we got a question in the chat for you. Do you look forward to living in Orlando compared to?
Oh, I can't wait. I had my old coach Gus Malzahn ended up going down to UCF, and I went down. I had a couple of my homies go down there and play. So I went down there a couple of times. It's a great place. A lot of beautiful things to do out there. It's a beautiful scenery, and the people down there love football. So if you really love football, you most definitely gonna tune in to the Pirates, because we bring the show this year. I can guarantee that.
Absolutely. Krish, any more questions before we let Smoke Monday get out of here?
Nah, Smoke, I look forward to seeing you during the season, man. This is your breakout year, man. Go get what belongs to you, for real.
You already know it, brother.
Yeah, something tells me that if it doesn't happen during the season, this is the year where you get back outdoors. So we wish you nothing but success in 2026, man. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know it's early, but we really appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to say to fans or anybody home, anything like that?
Hey, man, just come out and support. And, it's going to be a big year for us. And that's all we just need. We just need everybody in the building to see the show. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, man. We really appreciate having on, and we'd love to have you on closer to the season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Can't wait to get to the season, baby.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too.
All right. Once again, that was Smoke Monday, defensive back with the Maslando Pirates down there in Orlando.
No, but I just want to say one thing, man. Like that guy, man, I seen it with my own eyes. And I said it before, he represents what it means to be a pirate. Like, I grew up around guys like that. And so, it means a lot to see Smoke back on the team. This is our year, man. Mike Davis doesn't have a DB in a DB room like Smoke with the heart and how hard Smoke plays. Like, our DBs are dogs, bro. We got the best defense in the country.
You do have a pretty solid defense, I'm not going to lie, but I remember the feeling I had when he signed with the Pirates, and I was shocked that he was playing indoor football already. Like I mentioned before, a lot of players wait. They take that year off, or they take 2 years off before they finally consider indoor football, and you don't know what you're going to get. And then sometimes you get a shadow of what the player used to be, but that was not the case for him. He joined the Pirates pretty, late last season, but like he said, he had been with a CFL camp. He'd been through an NFL season, and then he joined the Pirates and immediately took off running. And honestly, it's awesome to see. I am mind blown that he's not back outdoors already with his name and the notoriety that he had behind him when he came out in the draft. For him to not have gotten a second chance at the NFL or gotten in UFL interest or CFL interest is just, it's boggling. Like it it surprises the hell out of me to hear that he hasn't been in contact with any teams at those
It
levels.
is. We have 3 guys on our team that I feel like really need the opportunity. DJ Daniel, DB, Smoke, and Michael Mason. Those 3 guys, man, they should not be playing indoor football. But that shows you, So when I see a guy who has played one good season of indoor football, who hasn't played at that high level, saying, "Oh, I need to be back outdoors. This is my last season." Like, look at Smoke's mentality. That's the mentality that every player should have. And Smoke played at the highest level. He was all SEC. So I don't want to hear any "Oh, I'm the best, I'm this." No, like you should have a mentality that Smoke has. For sure.
I mean, he was in the NFL, so and he had a very heartbreaking, into that chance, so I imagine if anybody has the opportunity to feel like they're slighted, it's him, right? He had an injury that prevented him from showing out like he could have and maybe making that team. And now he has to go play indoor football to make sure that he can prove that he's healthy and he can make it through a season and all that. And he's aware of that. Like, man, I think that interview probably just said a lot more about him than his own words could have ever said, because he's out here displaying the kind of qualities you want in a player, regardless of what level you're looking for. So, he went to Auburn. Man. What do you expect? We produce greatness. That's funny. I mean,
yeah, and you beat me to it, man. Because if he can prove, I guarantee he's going to get some looks after this season. When he goes through the season and is able to play without any injuries and stuff like that, he's going to showcase himself, guaranteed.
I agree. Hopefully he gets the opportunity to go back outdoors, and it's another success story for the Pirates. And I think that's one that, like we oftentimes kind of jokingly in our arena football group chat, we kind of diminish some of the players that sign with the Pirates and then sign back outdoors because they were, with the Pirates for a minute. I think Monday would be one of the real important success stories that they've had, and one that nobody could diminish because, of his situation. So,
and that's why, people say, "Oh, you talk about Jawad so much, this and that." Like, yeah, beside the fact, I know him, he's my dog, but at the end of the day, like, I see the talent he brings in. I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, we get the top players in the country. Like, we get the top level guys. And I think there's something special to be, brings eyes to the league. It brings eyes to the industry, having a guy like Smoke Monday playing indoor football, in my opinion.
100% does. And, I wasn't necessarily baiting him to say this, but I had a feeling that if you're offered by the Pirates, right, and you're a player who has no idea what the IFL is, like often is the case for a player that's been in the NFL, CFL, UFL circles, the first thing you're going to do is look at the other players on the roster, right? Who do they have? Who am I going to be playing with? And all of a sudden you look across the entire roster and you see guys like Teo Redding, who was in the UFL. You see Kenji Bahar, again, you and the UFL guy. Michael Mason was with I think the Ravens for a little bit. All these different players who've been on NFL rosters, been on CFL rosters, been on UFL rosters. They're guys that you recognize name-wise from playing at the Division I level, playing against in college. You're a lot more likely to sign that contract than you are for any other team offering, $250 in a hotel room for the season. So I definitely think that the Pirates' approach to how they recruit brings a lot more talent into the league that, I think the IFL is probably thrilled to have a team like that in the league that can draw some of these bigger names and guys that really kind of turn heads. Because again, I'm a diehard IFL fan, but when Smoke Monday signed with the Pirates, that piqued my curiosity and made me turn my head. So,
and I think it says something, I give Mike Davis a lot of shit, but like he moves guys up. And so the whole point is to move guys up. But how many organizations can actually move guys up? Do we keep track? Like, because I haven't seen Iowa, Iowa didn't move a guy up, but across the board, there's only certain teams that can move guys up at a consistent rate, right? And I believe we are one of the top teams in the country when it comes to elevating guys back to the next level.
I don't think there's any debate in that. We could debate it if we wanted, but there's really not a lot of evidence behind the debate against that, right? So I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are kind of missing. At the end of the day, if the the thought process is to provide opportunities for these guys to get back outdoors, then you really can't fault the Pirates for how they recruit and the success they've had being able to do that. So,
And it's not to. I know Krish will think this is like a joke at him, but it's really not. It's just the truth. It's also great for the league as well because we're talking about how they get all these great players, and they missed the playoffs last year. So that means there's other teams, other competition too that can still compete as well.
agreed, 100%. And that's
Agreed, 100%. And I'll say too, another example I'll use is when we went down to Northern Arizona, right? We played a 1-win football team, but they had a receiver, Deshaun Stoudemire, who cooked us, completely cooked us, and that showed me, look, every team in this league has good players, whether you're the first or the last, and that's what makes the IFL the best, in my opinion.
Fair point. We're going to transition a little bit. Recently, this past week, there were some posts that floated around on Facebook about the Tucson Sugar Skulls logo, and I'm trying to find the pictures right now so I could bring it up. There were some very, very slight changes to the Sugar Skulls logo. Did you guys catch this?
Yeah, I saw it.
I can't seem to find the picture now.
They like changed the font, and instead of it being the letters being primarily yellow, it's now mainly white or something like that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I just found the post, but then it's saying this content is not available. So I don't know if it got deleted, if it was, I don't know what happened, but it seems like Tucson's trying to put some minor little twists on the team, with the new ownership group, kind of try and make the team their own. And I always like to see that because I think that's good for the league and good for the team individually to have that ownership group kind of set themselves apart a little bit, not completely reinvent the wheel, but good point, Caleb. That is not something I had considered. Much easier for print, which typically translates to cheaper. So that's always a good thing as well. Couple more topics with the IFL this week. We've obviously had a lot of news come out. The big topic that I wanted to get to here, this was the one that I really meant to open with, is all of a sudden there have been some concerns that have been floated out there about FanDuel. Almost immediately after the partnership was announced for FanDuel and IFL. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and we can spend a little time on this one. How do you think this affects the IFL and their broadcast, heading into 2026, given this news? Let's go to TJ first.
I mean, it kind of puts a damper or a dark cloud over their announcement, releasing how they were going to have different streams and networks showing their games, and now one of their primary partners is now discussing potentially going under, I believe, after the NBA and NHL seasons or something like that, which of course would pretty much align with the start or very early on in the arena and indoor season. So that would it's not a great look, but I mean, at the end of the day, the IFL still has their network to kind of fall back on. I could see them maybe trying to almost have like a secondary option, but for the most part, I think they're just going to try and ride it out and see if they can to see how FanDuel goes as a whole. But it does put a big damper on it because it was pretty big news that they were basically going to have, majority, if not all their games, streamed or televised on a specific network.
Agreed. This is a good comment here. If you pay attention to fast channels, they do this all the time. Always sold to someone else or shut down. It's the nature of that business. And when we discussed this in our group chat, I posed a idea to the group that I believe is potentially a reason why FanDuel would go out and try to acquire the broadcast rights to the IFL for 2026. And if you're trying to spur a momentary spike in subscriptions, you go out and you get a league that has a proven backing of fans that want to pay to watch their product, and one that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get. That's why the IFL makes perfect sense to me for FanDuel. If they're in the middle of a process where they're trying to be sold, you want to bring in content that doesn't cost you a lot, but at the same time can bring you something of value in return. And I think FanDuel was looking at this like, okay, we're going to gain a ton more subscribers because of the fact that these IFL fans, they all want to see this product. They all paid the $40 last year to see the season on the IFL network. So, if we're charging $5-10 a month, people aren't going to bat an eye. They're going to sign up. They're going to, come over to our streaming platform, and we're going to see a spike in our subscriptions. So I think this could potentially be some creative and intelligent, negotiation tactics. I think you bring in some cheap, easy to market content, and you give whoever may be buying FanDuel a little bit more incentive to jump on it. And maybe even, potentially build a long-term partnership with the league if that becomes a major windfall for the network as well. So that's just a small caveat. One of the things that I had kind of wondered about with this whole deal, considering the news that has come out now. Why would IFL do that if they had any sort of doubts about FanDuel? The reality is they wouldn't have. So I think they're pretty confident in the decision they made. And like you said before, they've always got the IFL network to fall back on if it comes to it. To my understanding, the IFL is paying for their production costs anyway. And I would imagine they've got the productions handled in-house in terms of they're hiring the crews and not, FanDuel or Yahoo. And with that in mind, I don't think that we would see much of a difference in the broadcast level. It would probably just be a situation where everybody had to move over to IFL Network and we just keep on flowing as if nothing changed. So I do want to point out that the NBA season runs from mid-October to mid-April. So that gets you through the start of the season for the IFL. And then the NHL season runs from October to April as well. So basically right in the middle of that first month for the IFL. So that could potentially be a little bit of a detracting factor for the league if something happens, at the beginning of the season there, but we shall see. So another couple pieces of information. TJ, did you see that the Sioux Falls Storm have been selling merch recently and been posting quite a bit about it leading up to Christmas?
Dare I say a fire sale?
That's a good way to put it for sure. I kind of wonder if this isn't a way for them to try and generate some revenue to come back in the future, but it also does kind of speak to the potential that they may not be returning anytime soon. So do you think this is which side of this do you think this is? Do you think they're trying to generate some revenue to bring the team back, or do you think they're just trying to sell off old materials and get the income they can from what's left?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If it was a team that had only been around for a little while, like 2-3 years tops, I'd say they were just trying to get as much money as they could before they duck and run. But Sioux Falls, they've been around for a long time. I could honestly see them trying to generate something to start up to try and bring the team back next year after a little hiatus. I hope so anyway, because again, they've been a fixture in the indoor game for a long time, and I would love to see him come back. That was the original plan in their statement. Take a year off, reevaluate, and come back. So hopefully this is, like you said, potentially the build up just to raise initial startup funds to bring the team back.
That's what I'm hoping as well. We saw them a couple months back. I think it was around Black Friday. Now that I think about it, it seemed like they were selling off some stuff, some of the more high end merchandise that was laying around. And I posed that at that point, maybe they're trying to generate some funds to kind of spur the return. But another thing this could be is literally just, maybe they have somebody in mind that wants to purchase the team, or at least the rights to the team, and they no longer want the Storm branding. Could be another thought. So regardless, I hope it is a situation where the team comes back, whether it's the Storm name or not. It would be good for the IFL, good for football in general to see that branding come back. But More IFL news. Brent Stover named IFL Director of Broadcasting. And just a cheap plug here, if you have not caught it already, Off the Wall had an interview with Stover this offseason before he was named the Director of Media. Although something tells me Trey had a little inkling that this announcement was coming when he had the interview. But you should go check out the interview with Brent Stover again on Off the Wall. You can catch that on YouTube. I think it's Off the Wall FB, if I remember correctly. So go check out that interview right after we're off of here. It was a great one. I watched it at the time. I'm going to go back and watch it again, see if there was any nuggets in there that I didn't catch the first time. Always fun to do that, of course. But then also some transactional news that we're going to get to here in a minute. But before we get to that, TJ, what are your thoughts on Brent Stover being named the Director of Broadcasting?
I mean, I think it's a great move, and it's going to help out the league. He's a great guy, great football mind, and I think they're just going to be on the up and up from here on out now.
Give me just a second. Let's hope. Let's hope that's the case, and that his role with the league solidifies the broadcasting quality, and hopefully he can only continue to bring in bigger and better partners as things go on, or work out some long-term deals for the league to where they can hopefully set up a stable foundation of where we can watch games for the next couple seasons, and see if that kind of clears up some of the not confusion, but some of the hopscotch situation that we've witnessed over the past couple of years, where games were on Stadium and then they were on IFL Network, they were on YouTube, now they're on Yahoo and FanDuel and stuff like that. So hopefully they can kind of solidify their broadcast partners and leave it how it is. But some of the transaction information that I wanted to talk about real quick, looks like Krish is rejoining us at the moment, but Journey Sloan has signed with the Tucson Sugar Skulls, reuniting with a couple different players that once played on that championship Omaha Beef team from the 2023 season. He has also reunited with Rayshawn Kaiser, the head coach from that championship Beef team in 2023. Vegas has signed another quarterback, Avon Rucker. He spent some time with West Virginia. He also spent some time with Bethel. A dual threat guy. Interesting player, didn't play a ton in college, so he could potentially be a boom or bust pick, but hurt his chin, and Mike Davis over there in Vegas know how to develop quarterbacks, so I would definitely be watching out for him over the next couple seasons. Chances are he will end up starting some games for someone in the near future, whether it's Vegas or not. Judd Roberts re-signs with Quad City, and then Richie Murphy also signs with Quad City. And I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, so I apologize ahead of time, but Logan Shemitz, hopefully, has been moved to the exempt list for Tulsa. He's an offensive lineman, and he has signed with the CFL. Any thoughts on any of those moves before we move on, Krish or TJ?
Yeah, I think Gordon Sloan, going to Tucson, they have a nice receiver core down there. Tamorian Terry, Drew Dixon, and now Gordon Sloan. That's a nice core for them. Obviously, they don't have a quarterback to throw them the ball, so that's an issue. When you look at the CFL, great sign. Glad he got to move up. Obviously, what we said this league is for. And then Avon Rucker, surprising backup quarterback signing for Mike Davis and co. I think for them, they look at this and said, okay, I think they'll end up bringing in one more quarterback like they've done the past 2 years. They bring in 3 and they cut down to 2. But if this kid can come in and even if he doesn't make the team, the learning experience that he'll be able to get just being there in training camp from Coach Chin, from Coach Davis, from Jaden Delora, Randolph, Stoudemire, like playing with these guys will make you a better football player. So I subscribe. I think it's a nice sneaky move. Mike Davis is always 10 steps ahead when it comes to signing quarterbacks for some reason.
He is. And that's because they seem to do some actual scouting. Hey, we won't get into that too much. They actually do a lot of looking at rookies, guys who translate outdoors, guys who have not completely realized their potential So I think that's a big reason why they're good at being able to bring players in, building them up, and sending them back outdoors. But any final thoughts on any of the IFL topics before we hit a commercial break and bring on our next guest? All right. So on that note, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Deron Maxwell, who recently announced.
Can I do my big signings?
I was going to loop that all together at the end.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll do all the big signings at the end after we've had all the guests on and stuff, and we'll just go through and do like one big segment on our thoughts on free agency. So stay tuned for that. Also, drop your thoughts in the chat. If you basically our theme for today's episode, and I've done a really bad job of intimating this to you guys, but basically the theme of today's episode, we're talking about the biggest gifts free agency has brought the teams in each league. So whether it's the AAL, the IFL, the AF1, the NAL, the TAL, give us your thoughts on the biggest signings for, those leagues, whether it's, the team you like, you can give us the biggest signings on their team, or just across the league. Just give us your thoughts on the biggest names or the biggest moves for any team or league in any of these indoor leagues. But on that note, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Deron Maxwell. All right, we are back with our next guest, Deron Maxwell, most recently with the Duluth Harbor Monsters, now the Minnesota Monsters. How you doing this morning, Deron? Oh, we cannot hear you, sir. You might need to exit and come back in. Sometimes it doesn't connect correctly. All right, we'll see if we can't get him figured out right away and get him back on here in just a second. But we're going to transition. We're going to talk a little bit about his decision to move on from Minnesota. He is also not the only one who has left Minnesota, as Steve Walters has announced that he will also be stepping down from his position with the Minnesota Monsters. And they also lost Jamal Banks, who has signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So quite a bit of news coming out of Minnesota this week as well. So we'll see if we can't get Deron Maxwell on again in just a moment here to talk about his decision to leave the Minnesota Monsters. But let's go ahead and dive into this Steve Walters move a little bit while we try to get that figured out. Obviously, that was kind of a big piece of news that worked its way around the grapevine this week. So what were your guys' thoughts to see yet another person leave the Minnesota Monsters before the 2026 season? Let's go to TJ first on this one.
I'm sorry, I cut out. Can you repeat the last part?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, like, what are your thoughts on the Steve Walters leaving the Minnesota Monsters, and what do you think kind of is going on that's causing all these departures from the team?
I mean, it was that's a big loss. I mean, your general manager and CEO has helped lead you to back-to-back championships and was helping you with the transition to the new league. And he just steps down with all this other stuff going on. It kind of makes you wonder, you know, not necessarily, I mean, it looks bad, but not necessarily in a bad way, but what is going on behind the scenes there? Like, what are they purposely revamping all this, or is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't see? Are they trying to cut costs? It just it's very confusing to me, especially since again they've been a championship team, and it seems some of the moves at first you could argue were maybe it's because they're going now to a more traditional arena league. But now this more players are leaving and everything else. It just it's a real head scratcher to me. It has my concern meter moving up a little bit now.
I completely agree. I mean, all of a sudden we're having a huge exit of a bunch of players and coaches and front office executives and everybody from Minnesota. So it's a little odd for sure. Krish, what are your thoughts on this before we bring Duran back in?
Man, I've spoken on this issue before. I mean, look, I'll just be real. All these people, man, they say resign, it's thrown around, they leave. Like, some of them are getting pushed out, and that's just the reality of it. Some of them are being pushed out. You don't just leave a job, you don't just leave a championship team, right? Tony O'Neill just left. He just got up and left. Like, there's certain things, man, you gotta use logic. Really use logic and understand, like, no, some of these people are being pushed out, right? Some of these people are being asked to leave. Steve Walters was the CEO. He was not just the GM, he was the CEO. No CEO leaves a company unless they're pushed out. Like most of the time, 90% of the time. Steve he lives out in Duluth. Why would he just step down? No, it's him and Jacob Lambert probably got into a fight and then he's like, nah, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. So, and there's certain details I know I won't get too deep into, but my point is, man, Minnesota, the team that they're building is good. The team that they have now is not like, I know some of the guys who left and some of the people that oh no, the team is good, man. Their D line and O line are a way better place than they were, in my opinion. So I just feel like they need to clean up some front office things, like make sure when you go hire a new GM or hire a director of player personnel, you're not like, I love Coach Clark, nice guy, but he doesn't really know sales, right? He's not a sales guy. So don't hire him as a GM. Hire someone with experience. That's my only thing. So
Fair point. Fair point. We're gonna add in Coach B, who just joined us. Coach B, how's it going, man? Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Good morning, fellas.
Morning. Thank you for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Did I miss anything?
Just a couple crazy things Krish has said. No, actually, Krish has been good today so far. So we'll see if we can't get Duran back in and see if we can hear him this time. Can you say something for us, Duran?
Hello, good morning. You hear me now?
All right, there we go.
All right, let's do it.
Nice.
So,
Thank you
sir,
again for your patience.
You.
Oh, sorry. Let me get these cameras rearranged. There we go. All right. So, Duran, obviously, the big reason why I invited you on, and obviously, other than the fact that you're a great player and you've had an amazing career, was the news that you decided to leave Minnesota. So, I want to give you the floor and kind of just allow you to kind of go into that decision a little bit and what led into it for you, if you don't mind. If you want to pass on that, that's perfectly okay. We can start on the questions.
Obviously, it was my decision to leave Minnesota, but I had nothing. I have nothing to say bad about those guys. I wish them the best, but it just didn't feel like the same place for me. Was the same outlook for me, so I felt like it was best for me to move on to another team.
It's completely fair. At the end of the day, nobody can tell you what's best for you but you. So,
Sure.
I at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. So,
Yes,
TJ, you want to kick us off with the questions here?
Oh, hey, thanks for coming on. In terms of your future, leaving the Monsters, where you're headed now,
Yeah.
and What's on the horizon for you? Are you excited about
Um,
it?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've been talking to a few coaches. I feel like the 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 TAL was kind of pushing me back skill wise. So I feel like a new league, a new setting would be way better for me as competition wise, obviously. Um, but I just feel as though I just want to showcase what I can do in another league. I'm already stamped in the TAL, did what I had to do in the TAL. I just feel like another league would be better for me.
Fair point. Krish, any thought or questions? All right. So obviously, you've played with a couple different teams over your career. Do you
Yeah.
see a chance for you to maybe reunite with the team that you've played for in the past, or are you kind of going into free agency with all options on the table?
I'm going in free agency with all options on the table right now. Uh, obviously, I want to use this as a time to not only expand, but the time to travel and do what I have to do while I'm playing right now. So, I mean, it's pretty much. I feel like I want to get on my career side and use my degree. So I feel like I want to play somewhere I haven't played before.
That makes sense. If you don't mind me asking, what's your degree for?
Business management.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's easy.
Definitely. So do you foresee yourself using that as like a potential GM someday, or like where do you see yourself
Uh,
going into after football?
uh, I mean, the stuff I've seen from GMs, I don't think I want to. I mean, I give Steve the ultimate flowers and the ultimate praise. Steve is probably one of the best GMs I've ever been around. Steve is awesome. Steve gets the job done. Steve is a phone call away. He's about the players. I mean, that man's awesome.
That's fair. That's fair. It's an all encompassing job for sure.
Yes,
But
for
Coach
sure.
B, do you have any questions for Daron?
Sosa, what's good, bro?
What's up? What it do?
Nothing much, man. We've been talking a lot lately, so I already know what it is. But I got a few questions outside of football.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going with your degree?
So I mean, it's kind of a family thing that I have going on here. Um, so I mean, my sister, she's a doctor and stuff like that. So she runs her own business. So I could go inside with her, working her business on the business side, manage that. She's been talking to me a lot. So I mean, football is kind of like coming to an end a little bit, kind of for me. If this not this last season, I don't end up where I want to be. So I kind of want to play somewhere and leave a mark.
That makes sense. Any other questions, Coach B? Sounded like you had a few.
Nah, just one more. What's your deciding factor on where you land this season? As far as the team, what are you looking for, and what do you want from an organization that's trying to court you this season?
Oh man, I gotta find another Steve. I want to find another Steve. Steve made Minnesota a home away from home. Like whether it be housing, having a relationship with your GM. You know, some GMs you barely see. Some GMs you don't talk to. Some owners you don't talk to. I talked to my owner in Minnesota. I talked to Steve in Minnesota. I just feel like I want to feel welcome. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel like it's a home away from home, and everything else is comfortable. The football side I can get that done, but everything else I just want to feel like it's a home away from home.
We have an interesting question for you here in the chat. What's the significance of the necklace you are wearing?
I mean, that's crazy. The significance. It just, this was a gift. This was a gift from my aunt. I don't know if it's like a Christian like thing, but I wear it all the time, and ever since I've worn it, I mean, I've received great luck, games, whatever. I have never taken it off yet, and hey, it's like it's a good luck charm, you know.
That's awesome. How many times have you been asked about that on camera?
This is the first.
That's awesome. Way to go, Texas Pete. We appreciate that.
This is the
Always like that
first.
first time questions. Awesome. So, obviously Coach B had kind of alluded to it a little bit. You mentioned you're kind of coming in on the stretch run of your career here. Obviously you've done a lot of great things over the many years that you've played, and so obviously you don't have a ton left to accomplish on that list, I'm sure. But when you look at your goals for this season, what do you have left to check off that list?
I don't really go into season saying I want to check this off the list. I want to go into the season. I want to say I want to win. I want to hold the trophy up at the end of the season. I want to just dominate whoever we're playing, dominate, be that guy, and that's what it is. Every team that I stepped on, we either went to the championship or won the championship, and that's another the thing that I want to bring. Like I'm a dog. I have to win. Like I'm competitive. I have to win that championship. I have to hold that trophy up. It's gonna hunt me. Like it's gonna hunt me. So that's what it is.
I like that answer, and I'm sure all the teams courting you like that answer as well. Coach B, TJ, you guys got any more questions for Duran?
Yeah, with your time in the TAL, how do you see the TAL shaping up, and do you think it is going to continue to thrive in future years to come?
Um, I have seen that they added a few new teams. I'm seeing, um, but from the time that we were there, it was. I mean, we faced some adversity because of who we were, the Lou Harbor Monsters. But I feel as though that league will be okay. It'll be okay. They still have Kansas City thriving, so I feel like the league would last a last a couple more years or whatever.
Love to hear that. Hopefully it does.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to say we had another question in the chat, but that is completely unrelated to anything indoor football. I'm not quite sure why it's even on the chat. It's completely about the NFL and quarterback problems, so he's not really reading the room, I guess.
I had one for you, Shady. For
Go ahead.
from Sosa. Sosa, how was the transition from Brett to Jacob, and what was the difference between the ownerships that you seen when you were there?
Ah, I could say this. Brent allowed us to be who we are. It wasn't a robotic system. It wasn't controlling. Brent was a friend more than an owner. So I could leave with that. Brent didn't control us with the money side of things. So I that's yeah, I can just say that.
That's awesome. I mean, like you said, that's a rare thing to find. So, obviously Minnesota had a rare formula there, and hopefully they can find a way to get that back with everybody who's coming in now. So, we've kind of talked about what you intend for your next move to be. But what happens? I mean, like, how do I want to word this? How do you look to stay involved with football after your playing career? Will we see you on the sidelines coaching,
Oh,
or
for sure.
is it a situation where you walk away and you're done?
No, I obviously want to give back to the youth. Um, there's a lot of youth here that watch me and see what I do. I recently had a kid that never ever didn't even like football, and his mom told me he decided to play football because he saw me playing football. I trained a couple kids, money free for free. Um, I just love what I do. Like I didn't have it growing up, so I feel like I should be able to give back and inspire somebody to want to play football or do the things that I did. So obviously I'm going to be coaching somewhere, um, either a youth team or a high school team. I had a couple of high school teams here asked me to coach, so I definitely will be coaching somewhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any chances we see you start the coaching career before you hang up the cleats?
I think the seasons don't align, but
That's fair.
I do train. I train a couple kids here, so that counts. Yeah.
There you go. Any other questions from you guys? TJ, Coach B? Alrighty. So Duran, before we let you get out of here, is there anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to fans? Potentially teams watching that might be courting you? Anything like that?
Just know whoever signs me, they're getting the dog, and this is one of those years, one of those another statement year coming out of me for sure, for sure.
Where can we find you at? Like if they need to find you on social media or whatever, give them your handles.
You could do I type it or I mean my Instagram is one Ron Sosa _ and Facebook is Ron Sosa. So yeah, you can follow me, message me on there. Free agent, shopping around. Let's get it done.
I do have one more question for you. Where did Sosa come from?
Oh man, that nickname. I got this same question in Minnesota when I first got there. So that name came from a coach in Little League. I don't know where he got it from or I don't know, but the man just called me Sosa and it stuck with me for the rest of my football career. And it's been Sosa, like, and it just stuck with me. I don't know where he got it from. I'm gonna ask him, but hey, that's what it is.
Interesting. I was expecting there to be some profound meaning behind it or something.
Oh no.
Kind of funny. Maybe it was during the time when Sammy Sosa was super popular or something. Who knows?
Probably.
But definitely appreciate your time this morning, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Also appreciate that it seems like you have a lot of love for Minnesota. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of bad blood there, and that's always good to hear.
Absolutely.
You never want to see a guy leave on bad terms, and it seems like you like you said, you've got a lot of love and respect for what Minnesota did for you. So
Sure.
Wish you nothing but success in the future. Very excited to see where you sign for 2026. I have a feeling that it's going to be an interesting move for sure, and can't wait to see where it's at.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.
Definitely. I would love to have you back on shortly after you announce where you sign.
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a great rest of your
a
weekend,
short
sir.
list of all my favorite teams. That way you can sign with one of my teams. All right.
Gosh.
The Billings Outlaws. Damn it. No, just kidding. Anyway, well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future.
Sir, thank you.
Absolutely. So we are going to hit a quick commercial break, and then we will finish out our topics for the AF1. I know we kind of got into a little bit of it before.
Coach B, which nonprofit scam are you going to get Duran to sign with this time? It's not Iowa Power,
Lord.
so it has to be a new team.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
So good.
He knew that as soon as Krish came on camera, he's like, I need to get out of here. And he jumped off immediately. But we're going to hit a quick commercial break, and then you guys can listen to Krish and Coach B go back and forth. It'll be great.
Yo, what's good? Cedric the bus driver here. I don't know about you guys, but I know what I will be doing every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Thursday nights too. I'll be over at Shady Sports Network, so catch up with me. Holla at your boy.
as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me. It's so easy. Get out your own way. It's just so easy.
All right, we are back to discuss several different things. So before we brought Drawn on, we talked a little bit about Steve Walters leaving the Minnesota. So Coach B, that was right before you came on. What are your thoughts on Steve Walters out of Minnesota there?
I'm actually shocked. I told Chris knows I told him this before, like, but without Steve, I'm trying to figure out how this machine is gonna be oil tuned and running because he went out and got most of the majority of the sponsorships. He was the face of the brand in the community. He lives there. Everything he did was for that team. I remember I've used to have conversations with him when I was with St. Joe's GMing over there, and I would call him just to get particulars together for games and stuff when we met. And he was on point with everything. So when it comes to day-to-day operations, he is their guy. Brent used to rely on Steve for everything. So with him gone, I just want to see how the franchise is going to function because he is 90% of the franchise to me.
That's one of my questions as well. But correct me if I'm wrong. They did have an assistant GM in place, right?
Not that I know of or really did what Steve did.
Yes,
Steve,
it was Ben. It was Ben McCoy with director of scouting and assistant GM too.
yeah, but
Yeah.
he just handled football stuff. Business wise, it's all Steve.
Give me just a sec. Let me look up the guy. But man, I swear there was another somebody commented on Steve's
Nah,
post.
because Ben finessed Ben with DPP, and then he finessed his way into assistant GM, and so they gave him both titles. So I I don't know who took it over because Ben said like that's not his title anymore, I guess, and then he went back to DPP. So kind of it was a little confusing, but I think they just Steve was the the GM.
Wow. The local news for Minnesota did a story about Steve Walters stepping down. That's crazy.
He has a lot of connections up there in Duluth. He's from that area. So losing Steve is really like losing a lot of your revenue in my eyes. Honestly, without Steve, who's gonna do your sponsorships? Who's gonna be the face of your brand? Who's on game day? Who's gonna be making courting your sponsors and things like that? That's Steve right there. Like I've seen him on game day running with a chicken with his head cut off throughout that arena in the deck, making sure everything's done right, and he does a darn good job.
Eric Elwood, Assistant General Manager, Operations and Communications Specialist. So that is, man, I look up and everybody's just gone except for TJ. And then there was two. No, but I had noticed that on Steve Walters' post on LinkedIn that there had been a comment from a guy named Eric Elwood, and I noticed that it said Assistant General Manager for Minnesota on his title. So that's the only reason that came about. I was not aware of him prior to that, but I have to wonder if he's not the guy who steps up and takes the reins now. With Steve out, it make for a natural transition if
I
he
talked
was.
to a little birdie, and a little birdie told me they already have a GM in place. They're just waiting to announce.
Interesting. Well, it'll be even more interesting to see if it's Eric Elwood or if it's somebody else entirely. Minnesota is I don't want to say it's a mess because obviously we don't know the plan. So maybe there is a plan behind the scenes, but it seems very chaotic on the surface. And granted, again, I don't
That's
know.
what scares me, Sam, because even though you have a coaching turnover, but with this much turnover in the front office and just players after that, that's what scares me. Like, is it a culture change where Clark is trying to bring in his culture, or is it just something behind the scenes that we don't know that's not going right? And Minnesota might be a scare. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell, unfortunately. But One positive piece of information from the Minnesota Monsters that we wanted to talk about is the fact that Jamal Banks, a wide receiver that they had signed or re-signed for 2026, has signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for 2026. Now, obviously, we're always rooting for guys to go back outdoors. Jamal Banks had a minute in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens, played for Nebraska in college. So, obviously he's a high-level player. But more importantly, he's also 6'4", 220 pounds, has elite measurables. So definitely excited to see him back in the CFL. He's kind of had a rough go of it, so far since he started his professional career. But he's definitely a guy I think that could emerge as a weapon for Winnipeg very quickly.
Sam, like it really been a good thing with the arena indoor period this year. A lot of guys have been moving up. So
Yep.
good testament to all leads, no matter what league you is.
Yep.
If you got guys moving up, great job. Coaches too.
I'm glad you said that too, because even all the way down to the Columbus Lions, they had Tariq Stewart move up to the next level, and granted he was signed to play with Washington this year, but played with Columbus last year. So I mean, it seems like every league, like you said, has had at least one or two players go up to the next level, and obviously the IFL and the AF1 have had quite a few players go up to the next level, but it's been an interesting offseason so far for that. And, obviously, like I said before, we're always rooting for guys to get the opportunity at the next level. So, TJ, any thoughts on Jamal Banks signing with Winnipeg?
Yeah, I think he's going to do well, in, I'll say, limited opportunity. Had 151 receptions in college, but had almost 2,000 yards receiving, 16 touchdowns total between Wake Forest and Nebraska. So I think he's going to go in, and he's going to be able to help Winnipeg out. Hopefully he is able to make, obviously, the regular season roster and beyond. But I'm rooting for him. It's like Coach B said, man, anytime a guy gets moved up or gets back outdoors to that opportunity, you want to see him succeed.
Absolutely. Wish him nothing but luck at the next level, of course. I always like to see those guys get an opportunity. And like I said before, he's got elite size, 6'4", 220. And Winnipeg does seem to like their receivers bigger. So he's got a real shot at not only making the roster, but making an impact with that team sooner rather than later. We're going to transition over to the NAL. There isn't a ton of information coming out from the NAL, but there's a few pieces of information we'll talk about. Ruggiero announced a coaches show that will be coming out. I think it's called It's Rue Time, if I remember correctly. I did talk to their owner, Keith Carter. This is all in-house. It's completely being produced and broadcast in-house. So it definitely should be an interesting situation moving forward. But there's also another piece of NAL news, and Coach B, I think I'll let you handle this one if you want to discuss your situation.
Just letting everybody know, formally, I resigned as the DC for the Dallas Bulls, effective immediately Monday. No shot to the organization. It's just I think I got to find a better opportunity that fits what I'm going and where I'm going and doing in the future, and just what's best for arena football and not just me.
Well, Coach B or Texas Pete, there is your Dallas Bulls update from Coach B as of right
Texas
now.
Pete, man, they got a tryout January 3rd, from what I know. As of right now, we're still on. So if any players trying to get on down there, go on down there to the tryout. Other than that, I'm not in tune with them anymore. I stopped talking as of this week with the organization and Coach Kent. So,
Well, we're sorry to hear that, Coach. Obviously, it's never a good thing when you have to step away from an opportunity. I mean, I imagine you have some good reasoning there, regardless of what it may mean for the team. But as you mentioned, Dallas does have a tryout coming up January 3rd. So if you are looking for a professional opportunity and you're in the Texas area, strongly recommend you go out to that tryout. You do have a pretty good opportunity of playing football with the Dallas Bulls in 2026. As they seem to be leaning very heavily on local talent. A couple pieces of transactional information in the NAL that I think is interesting, that will definitely turn some heads. Salina has signed Duke Williams, a wide receiver that refused to report to the Albany Firebirds last year. Obviously don't have a ton of information on what led to him not deciding to go to the Firebirds last year, but we all know here on this show, because we're all astute indoor and in-arena football fans, that Albany is among one of the best destinations for any indoor football players, as they like to take care of their players very well. And this man, Duke Williams, decided not to report to Albany, but has signed with Salina, which is no bad team by any stretch, but doesn't necessarily provide the same amenities that Albany has over the past couple of years. So interesting to see this move by Salina. TJ, what do you think the odds are that Duke Williams actually goes ahead and reports to camp for Salina?
For his sake, man, I hope it's 100% yes, because if he doesn't show up again, teams are going to just not even have him on their list. If a guy makes himself available, verbally or contractually agrees to show up and doesn't multiple times, they're considered a flight risk. And again, you don't even have him on the board, because what's the point of having a guy who's not going to show up? You know, um, but for his sake, I hope so, because he's has a lot of experience, was outdoors, everything else. So I mean, this could be his chance to get back out there. So hopefully he does show up and take the opportunity this time that's given. Uh, and I'm sure he, after seeing Albany last year, he regretted not going, since they went undefeated and won a championship. So
Yeah, I imagine there's some sort of level of regret there for him. He is also 32 years old, so I mean, at this point, he's closing out his career, right? So he doesn't have a ton of opportunities to move up. Another big body guy, 6'3", 225, but hasn't been in the CFL for 2 seasons now. Used to play for the Buffalo Bills, so the connection there to the Albany Firebirds made a lot of sense when he signed there, but ultimately just a guy who is seemingly closing out his career, and hopefully he decides to do it on the field with Salina this year. It definitely would be very interesting to see exactly how he fits with their roster. Krish, are you able to speak again? Are you yeah. Krish is having some hardcore internet issues. Believe it or not, he is actually joining us from India. He is in the Middle East right now and trying to join us. So he is one of those guys that doesn't matter where he's at, doesn't matter what time it's at, where he's at, he's still going to try and join the show, even if he has some issues doing it. So yeah, that's he's a unique player. He's had some anger issues over the years. In fact, back in 2022, when he was with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he was suspended for a game after he took his helmet off and took a helmet off of another player and threw it at him during warmups. He signed with one other CFL team after that, and then never really did much, and ended up being released at the end of the season. And now here he is playing indoor football. Has not played since 2023 outdoors. So again, going to be interesting to see if he can find a home that makes sense for him. All right, then. So on that note, there's one other piece of transactional information from the NAL. Southwest Kansas has signed former Kansas City GOAT Jairus Burnett. He was actually, teammates with D. Washington this offseason after the AF1 season ended. So awesome to see them reunited, and it's another local Kansas player who gets to stay close to home for the season this year. Excuse me. And the Rougarou have announced they're going to start training camp February 8th. So that pretty much sums up all of our big news for this week. However, we did have one question at the beginning of the show that I wanted to get to everybody's thoughts on. And that is, what is the biggest gifts that free agency has brought your team or a team in all of the leagues? So we'll start off with the IFL. and we'll kind of go around the horn here. And unfortunately, we don't have Krish, but he submitted his picks ahead of time, so I do have the players that he was looking at. So I'll go ahead and start with him. Krish has 4 different players listed for big signings in the IFL, and those players are Marquise Waters, who signed with Vegas, Jonathan Ross, who signed with Green Bay, Naquan Murray, who signed with Orlando, and David Elder, who signed with San Diego. So a nice, good mixture of offensive and defensive guys there. Have spread out through the league. Marquise Waters, former Pirate who signed with the Vegas Nighthawks, plays some linebacker, really good player. Jonathan Ross, a pass rusher that was previously with Bay Area. He became a free agent with Bay Area shut down, and ultimately he jumped over to Green Bay. Kind of an interesting signing by them. Naquan Murray, all IFL receiver last year, honestly should be one of the top receivers on the Pirates this season. And then David Elder, another solid player that San Diego has brought in. TJ, do you have any players that you feel are really big signings by IFL teams this offseason?
Well, I love giving gifts for Christmas, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about what you truly receive. That makes you feel the best. So I stayed. So I went with the Homer pick, Marquise Waters, man. Uh, linebacker out of Texas Tech. He was. This is one of his reviews. A physical enforcer in the box with sideline to sideline range and veteran leadership. Boom. Doesn't get much better than that, man.
That is completely fair, and as we know, TJ is a Vegas Nighthawk fan, so not surprising that he picked a Vegas player. Coach B, can you hear us? Do you have any players you want to talk about in terms of big IFL signings?
I had one. I had a couple from Orlando, but one of them I'm unsure about right now because I don't see him on the I saw him post him, but I to the Pirates was mine, but he's not on transactions. And then, like you said, Naquan Murray, that was a big signing for them. I think that helped out a receiving core that was a little bit older and getting older and helped them out right there. Uh, Jerome Johnson to New Mexico. I think that was a good one. And Maurice Ashley to New Mexico. Those are
I
my
like
4.
it. Jerome Johnson was very, very close to being on my list, but I went a different direction. I figured everybody would be picking skill positions for the IFL, so I actually decided that I was going to go with San Antonio's offensive line. So I really like how they've constructed their offensive line this offseason. They are a bunch of big, nasty guys that are going to run over you in the run game. They've got Bless Harris, 6'6", 320 pounds. Colton Greer, 6'7", 315. Dazion Carroll, who was the starting center for the Beaumont Renegades championship team last year, 6'3", 310. Gabe Rankin, 6'7", 330. Desmond Thomas, 6'4", 315, another Beaumont Renegade last year. So, Green Bay Blizzard player last year. So, I mean, just a huge unit that I think is going to plow over other teams in the run game, and it's going to be fun to watch from Jonathan Bain's unit this offseason. But moving on to the NAL, Krish has a couple different players listed here, and not surprising to see any of these names on this list. Omaha Beef, defensive lineman Brandon Munoz, Sioux City, wide receiver and kick returner Carlos Thompson, and Salina Liberty, quarterback Evan Lewandowski. So let's go to TJ next. TJ, who are your big signings in the NAL?
Well, once again, I stayed home. Brandon Muniz, was with the Sharks. Now he's coming over. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for him to be with the Beef now. It's going to be a huge difference. Uh, and uh, and I live in PA, but I'm considering him Homer since he's from Maryland. So that's a positive for me.
That's fair. That upper northeast region, it's like 42 states fitting the size of Colorado, so I'll allow it. Man, for NAL, there's a couple different players that really kind of stick out to me. I'm probably, if I could go with a little bit of a homer pick, I really like the signing of Pueblo to bring in Jaru Campbell. We've talked about him at length here. Jaru Campbell is an unbelievable athlete when he's on the field. So if he can stay out of trouble, he can report to Pueblo and, stay in the good graces of the coaching staff and play all season long. I think he's going to be a candidate for NAL MVP. And I don't think that anybody who's watched him play is going to necessarily argue with that. But the questions are not about whether or not he can play. It's whether or not he will be available to play. So, I hope he's gotten everything straight in his personal life to be able to focus on football, because he is so much fun to watch when he's on the field. So I would really love to see Pueblo, have him balling out this season. But Coach B, who are your big moves for the NAL?
For Omaha, Carlos Thompson. For Sioux City, for Colorado, Paxton Lynch. I thought that was a good business move and a good move. I think he's gonna do better than people think he's gonna do in NAL. For Pueblo, it has to be the game changer. I think Chris Elmore, Rhino.
That's a fair signing as well. And also Paxton Lynch, from a business perspective, I mean, you can't argue that move. Like I said it here on this show before, Denver lit up and starting to talk about the Spartans when they signed Paxton Lynch. Every media personality in the city was talking about Paxton Lynch returning to football in Colorado, in Denver. So it was huge for the team. It really put them on the map here in Colorado, and it was awesome to see because arena football here it has never really gotten the notoriety that it should. And kudos to Tony Thompson for realizing how important that move was going to be for his team, but when he made it happen. But
I've seen more publicity from the Spartans than I have the last 2 years, just in the last month. Right now.
Yeah, 100%. They've done a really good job of bringing in players that are turning heads, and then also they have been super consistent on social media this year. So, so yeah, definitely interesting to see that move. TJ just brought up a really good point behind the scenes. Where are all our regulars? Mike Davis, Ricky Bartz, Coach Negron, CJ. Man, I can't believe nobody's in the chat today from those guys. But love to see Brian Shoemaker. Nicole, you're here often. Brian Mathern's with us. Texas Pete. I love to see you guys every week. Caleb, you're a really, really dedicated watcher, man. Really appreciate all you guys who tune in every week. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button. And then also hop over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, hop over, subscribe to the second YouTube channel, Shady Sports Network live events, as we will have some arena soccer later today. Brian points out, how about the Ruggiero socials? They have done a really good job.
Yeah, they've been booming, Sam. I was going to say that earlier when you was talking about them. The new ownership change really helped their presence as far as social media and just in general. Like, all you see is Louisiana Ruggiero. And I think it's good for marketing for them.
100%. I think this is huge by the team. They've had cameo videos coming out like nobody's business lately. They've had, everybody and their sister talking about the team. And like you said, the ownership change has really kind of lit a fire underneath the Ruggiero. So I love to see it. It's good for the league. It's good for the team. And I think they really are onto something there down in Louisiana. I really, really think that we're going to see them have kind of a resurgent season. And you're right, Caleb. We definitely will see everybody back, I'm sure. No doubt about it. Definitely takes effort. And to be fair, Mike Davis sent us all a care package right before Christmas, although I believe TJ is still waiting on his. Next time we'll ask him to expedite it. Pennsylvania is a long way from Vegas.
I was gonna say it's that slow PA mail carrier system,
Exactly. They work on the word of mouth system. If somebody can't 6 degree of separation your house, you're not getting the package. But moving on to the AF1 moves this offseason, Krish has one player listed. As you can see from the other leagues, the fact that he's got the one guy listed probably should set up some alarm bells in your head that this is a guy who's going to be very impactful this year, and that is Malik Honeycutt, who has signed with Nashville. Malik Honeycutt and Tyler Kolka, good luck defensive secondaries in the AF1 this season, because it's going to be tough to stop those guys together. TJ, who are your biggest signings in the AF1?
I mean, I was going to say Malik Honeycutt as well, just because of that connection. It instantly makes Nashville's offense even more dangerous for next season. And they were looking to reload, making it to the chip, but coming up a little bit short in that game. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, man. Their offense, I think they're going to put up some big points this upcoming season with Honeycutt there.
I agree. Coach B, who are your AF1 signings that are big gifts for your teams?
I like, it's a sleeper signing. Jamal Williams. He was in Vegas last year, linebacker. I think he is with the, if I'm not mistaken, he went AF1 to, who was that? Nashville. So I think he's gonna make an impact there. He was good for Duke City. He was good for Vegas last year. That's gonna be an impact. And then I ain't gonna lie, I like old boy from Beaumont, the DB from Beaumont that went to Minnesota. He was a baller last year. I think he was a best defensive player, honestly. Jalen Hicks. So
Yeah,
I
he's a
think that's a
solid player.
great pickup. And then Albany picking up Kentucky picking up the DB from Albany, Marcus Lee.
That's fair. A couple comments here. With Krish on a sabbatical, it's just not the same. To be clear, Krish is trying to be on the show. He just has some internet issues right now. He keeps popping in and out. Again, he's in India, so the fact that he's even trying to join the show is pretty awesome. I probably would just take the week off if I'm being honest. But Brian says true. It is different without Krish here. Yeah, we miss his fiery takes. Don't get me wrong. He definitely brings a lot of life to the show. He's very talkative, of course. But CJ is here checking in the chat. I guess his access to the group chat probably spurred that. AF1, have you seen Oceanside's helmet? They should be named the Oceanside Battlehawks. If you know, you know. To be announced AF1 2027. LOL, Texas Pete. I wonder what this might be referring to. My big moves for the AF1, I really like the move to bring Tyler Kolka back to Nashville. I think while that was probably a foregone conclusion after the way his season went, I think it was one of those moves that if it had not happened, you would have had to have asked a lot of questions about Nashville moving forward. But he's one of those players that he came in, he lit it up last year. Now he's got even better weapons around him. I think that he could potentially be one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the league. His skill set is perfect for the AF1 and their rule set. So I think that's a big move. I really like the move of Vincent DeLeo to Kentucky. Obviously Cedric Walker is a old school arena style coach. So it would not shock me if we see Vincent DeLeo play both ways for Kentucky, play some fullback, play some linebacker. He did that with Southwest Kansas in 2024 and then immediately went back to the UFL. So, he's still got that window slightly cracked open. So I think he's in for a big season with Kentucky. Marquise Lawson Greenwood's also there. Would love to see him have another great year and go back outdoors. There's a couple different players on Kentucky in general. I'm very excited to see Luke Bailey, their quarterback. I think he's another guy who fits really well with the AF1 style. So I think he could be another quality player. But that's pretty much all I've got for the AF1, I really honestly haven't. There haven't been enough signings in the TAL and the AAL to really go across those signings yet. So we'll have to revisit that in another episode. But before we move on, is there any other topics you guys wanted to touch on before we get out of here? Coach B, you got anything?
Nothing at all.
Awesome. Well, on that,
Actually, I do have one thing.
okay.
H2P, baby. Hail to Pitt. We play our bowl game today.
All right. Speaking of which, for our Pennsylvania fans in the house, this is not indoor football related, but it just popped up on my feed, and I figured I would share. The Toronto Argonauts have hired a Pennsylvania high school coach to their staff. His name is Colin Howe. He was the head coach of Kiski Area High School in Leechburg, Pennsylvania. And now he's joining the Toronto Argonauts staff. So that is quite the jump from the high school level to the Argonauts staff. But they are having quite a restructure there for their franchise, given the departure of Ryan Dinwiddie and so many other things.
Hey, Sam, have you talked about the AAL and the draft?
Yeah, that was the first topic.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, I think the AAL is going to be on the same level, mark my words, in the next 2 years as the top tier leagues.
I am firmly on the AAL and AAL2 hype train. In fact, you could probably say I'm the conductor at this point, because as far as I'm concerned, if AJ Roquet's got his name on it, I will be supporting it. The dude just understands it. He gets it. I know that there's still a lot of work to be done for the AAL and the AAL2, but he seems to try to cater to ownership groups. And if you want a stable league, you pay attention to what your ownership group needs. So
And want.
Yeah, and want, exactly. How can you make it as easy as possible for them to succeed? And that's what he does.
I love what AJ is doing. Him, Mr. Beck, all those guys with the AAL. I think they got a great vision, and they going with it, and they using it to their advantage. They not trying to go above and beyond. They stand in their lane, and they moving at their own pace, and that's what I love about it. I think they have the right idea with which AFL, the original AFL and AFL2 tried to do. They doing it the same model, but a little bit different and better. And I think it's gonna succeed. And adding that draft, just put the little icing on the cake to separate them from other leagues.
I agree. And, in a world where content means everything, that draft process is another 3 to 4 hours of content that the league can hang its hat on, another 3 to 4 hours of reasoning for fans to be following along. So I think it's a big deal for the league from that perspective too. The more you can keep fans engaged and, early on in the season or before the AAL even kicks off, the better it will be. Plus that builds a little bit more fan interaction from the AAL2 teams as well. If you're a fan of the Ohio Legends and your quarterback gets drafted by the Mississippi Wolfpack, you might follow along with all their games from then on, because that's a local Ohio player that's going to get an opportunity in another city and state. Will the draft be announcing players or a real event? I am so excited to tell you guys this is going to be a real event. They are having an in-person draft at the Beck Center in Columbus, Georgia, with all 4 teams having representatives on site. There will be a live stream of the draft that you can catch right here on Shady Sports Network. Thank you, AAL and AAL2.
Quick question: will AAL2 owners be on site as well?
That's a good question. I had not asked about that, but I would imagine.
I think it should be, so because they got players that might get drafted, so it helps, and you get to build relationships and connections with those other owners from other leagues.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if that is something that AJ has discussed. Make it somewhat of an unofficial league meeting at the same time, right? There's no reason not to when you have everybody in one spot.
That makes sense. You could have the league meeting at the same time. I didn't even think about that.
The one difficult part of that is the fact that the AAL2 will be 2 weeks into their season, so teams might be on the road and stuff. So I could imagine some of that will be difficult. But that's actually the same week that those AAL teams kick off a lot of their exhibition games too. So it's a really busy week for the league, but I think it's going to be awesome. But as far as the draft broadcast, if this is your guys' opportunity to really put your stamp as fans on an event from a league, right? You already know that we're going to be very involved. You know, we've been producing all the content for the AAL and AAL2 for a little over a year now. So if you guys have any ideas that you've ever wanted to see involved in a draft that are reasonably able to be done by us and the league with the budgets that we have involved, give us recommendations. Hit us up on Shady Sports Network. Drop it on the AAL page, the AAL2 page, wherever. We will see it, and we will use your suggestions if they are reasonable. So if there's something you've wanted to see from the NFL draft or from the UFL draft or from the CFL draft, let us know. We will try and incorporate that to make this event as fun and as interesting for fans as possible. So like I said, now's your chance. Put your stamp on this stuff. So let's do what we can to not only make this a huge event that many people want to join in and watch, but also as entertaining as possible for fans. It looks like we got Krish back, maybe. Krish, can you hear us? Maybe not.
I'm back, guys. Yeah, I'm here.
No.
Yeah.
Well, anything you want to give us before we close out the show?
No, I would just say, like, when I was putting the list together about the players, I did it more based on schematical fit instead of which player can make their team the best in terms of an area of weakness. And I feel like all those players I highlighted are guys who will make an impact immediately next year. So
makes sense. Caleb, just so you know, your request right here, we will do our best to do everything in our power to have a lot of background information on these players. Part of the application process is that they're going to have to hopefully provide some highlights as well as some background information about where they've played in the past and stuff like that to allow us some information to provide write-ups. We've got a lot of people working on this draft process. So myself and a couple other guys are going to be working on draft write-ups on all the different players that apply. We will be getting the list as it comes in. So we'll be able to kind of work our way through the list as guys come in. And we're going to try to basically go through and have at least a graphic or something, some sort of visual, if not highlights, to play on every single player. Brian, you got to think about the way the AAL2 and the AAL work. The AAL2 is a developmental league, and it is designed to be the farm league for the AAL. So with that, these teams are used to losing players throughout the season already to other leagues, whether it's the NAL, IFL, AF1, etc. So that's how it's designed in the first place. So I don't think it really affects the AL2 teams as much as some people might think. At the same time, I understand your thought process. Allowing that to happen would be, it would make sense. But to counteract this point right here, what should happen if players choose not to sign in the draft? They got
an option, don't they? Don't they have an option to sign after they draft too?
Yes, but at the end of the day, they have to apply for the draft. So it's not going to be like they're drafting players that do not want to be drafted, right? So chances are if the players are applying for the draft, they want to be drafted, right? So I think that's going to eliminate a lot of the situation where you might have players not sign. Now obviously it's not going to eliminate everything. If a guy has to go from Michigan to Mississippi for $100 or $200 per game, maybe it doesn't happen. But at the same time, I think we're going to eliminate a lot of that with the application process. These guys want to be seen. Yes. So I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of things that eliminate the decisions for guys not to sign. At the end of the day, these guys are all playing in the AAL2 because they want to play professional football at some point. So this is their.
I wanted to ask you guys this question though. It's kind of a rat poison one, but with CJ watching, what would you rank Omaha Beef's offseason so far in terms of roster wise. If you had to give a rating out of 5, I'm like interested to see what you guys would rate it.
TJ, I'll let you take that one first.
Championship, baby.
I think he's at least top 7. At least top 7. Firmly number 6, at least. No, I'm just kidding. Krish, where would you rank it? Oh, Krish, can you hear us still?
I think Chris muted.
But I would
He
say,
muted.
no, I can hear y'all. I would say my rating would be a 4. I feel like they got better at D-line. They got better at O-line. Running back, they stayed the same. Linebacker, they downgrade. And DB stayed the same. So I would give it a 4 out of 5 for sure. I'm confident in that too.
Interesting.
I'm close to you. I'm at like a 3.8 out of 5.
All right. There we go.
What the hell is going on here?
Closing it out with a little beef talk because we didn't spend nearly enough time on the beef segment that we have every week. So there you go. You got your 2-minute obligatory beef mention. At least have to talk about them once a week, regardless of if they've signed no players or not. So there you go. But anyway, on that note, any final thoughts, any final shout outs, anything you guys want to get out there before we close out the show?
Shout
Yeah, I
out.
just
I
want to
want to give
shout
a
out,
shout out to
always, I got to do this every episode, but shout out my boy Lobo with Orlando Pirates. And of course, my guy Jawad. I have to give Jawad his flowers as well for continuing to build a high level program. And I'm so excited for this season and still tuned in all the way here from India, locked in on my team. Let's go, man. This is our year. So,
Coach B, what were you saying?
I was gonna give a shout out to the Ohio Legends. I don't know if people heard. I'm the GM and consultant with the ownership over there, so I'm helping them out this year. They got a tryout January 10th. Players looking to get signed, come on out. But I want to shout out to all the leagues, man. They doing a great job.
Absolutely. I think this is a big year for arena football in general. I think we're in a situation where, you can count the teams that may have some sort of concerns off the field on, maybe one hand. And I think that's the first time in a long time that we've been able to say that. So, we wish nothing but luck to all of these leagues. We hope all these teams are able to start and finish the season without drama. Hopefully all the players get paid and they, are able to put their best foot forward. All the coaches don't get stranded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the negatives of indoor football would be great if we could just go one season with none of that stuff. But I think we are poised for one of the best seasons in recent history of indoor and arena football from that perspective. I just have fewer concerns this year than a lot of past years. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and close out the episode. Thank you guys for watching so much today. At one point, we got up over 50 viewers. We're dead nuts in the middle of the off season. You guys tune in every week. We can't tell you how much we appreciate all of your support. It means the world to all of us. And as always, those who are, hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing this every week, that all matters as well. So we really appreciate it. We're still a very small platform, even though sometimes it may not seem like it. We need all the help we can get to continue growing. So if you haven't done so already, share this with a friend, have them jump on the hype train of this show. It's continuously grown for 4 years, and we've gotten to a place where I never thought we'd get here. We have 40 plus viewers every week. We have a huge chat. We have a ton of regular viewers, and we really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So on that note, Merry Christmas. I hope everybody had a great holiday. I hope you guys all have a happy new year. We'll be back on the 3rd, and hopefully you guys aren't too hungover to show up on that episode. You got the 2nd in there to buffer a little bit, but looking forward to nothing but a ton more news and great information coming out of all these leagues. But on that note, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, hop over, check out our merchandise at brandingblinks.com in the Shady Sports Network section. That is the best possible way to support Shady Sports Network.
Yo, what's good? Cedric the bus driver here. I don't know about you guys, but I know what I will be doing every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Thursday nights too. I'll be over at Shady Sports Network, so catch up with me. Holla at your boy.